There comes a moment in every wealth journey when fate whispers before the world notices, when the storm hits long before the clouds turn dark, when the market has already crashed in spirit, even while the world still thinks it's standing. And only those who listen, truly listen, see what others never see. My dear listeners, the truth many refuse to accept is simply the crash doesn't begin on the chart, it begins in the mindset of the masses. By the time the headlines scream panic, the smart money has already moved silently, patiently, without noise. And today, the claim that the market crash has already happened isn't just a dramatic phrase, it is a mirror reflecting how fear and greed ripple through every stock, every asset, and yes, even Bitcoin. There's a strange silence in the air right now, a silence that comes after heavy selling pressure, but before the smart accumulation begins. And if you've been watching the markets closely, truly watching, you can feel it too. Stocks already went through their hidden collapse evaluations, quietly reset, liquidity dried up, and what is left now is a battlefield of opportunity waiting for the brave. I remember a young man I once met struggling, overwhelmed, trying to flip every trade. Every small dip made him panic. Every small rally made him greedy. He once told me, I think I lost everything during the crash. I asked him gently, which crash? And he said, the one I felt inside before the market even moved. That's when I realized something powerful. Sometimes the real crash happens within us. The crash of discipline, the crash of vision, the crash of patience. And when those things collapse, our portfolio follows. But you, my listeners, you are here because you are awakening. You are learning the truth. Few ever understand markets don't reward speed, noise, or panic. They reward endurance. Right now, as traders claim the stock market has already crashed, many fear the next wave, focusing especially on Bitcoin. They fear the uncertainty, the volatility, the unknown. They whisper that Bitcoin might be next, that its next move could shake the entire digital market. And maybe they're not wrong, because Bitcoin has its own heartbeat, its own rhythm, its own storm cycles. When stocks fall, Bitcoin does not always follow instantly. Sometimes it lags, sometimes it leads, sometimes it moves like it's listening to a different universe entirely. And that mystery, that unpredictability is what makes it powerful. But listen closely, in every Bitcoin crash, there is a hidden lesson. When everyone else is screaming that it's over, history quietly shows that it has only begun another chapter. Think back to the person you used to be when you first heard about Bitcoin. Maybe you thought it was too late. Maybe you were scared. Maybe you were broke. Maybe you were surrounded by people telling you wealth wasn't meant for you. But you are here now, listening, evolving. And that means something important. You haven't given up on your financial destiny. I want you to feel something with me for a moment. Imagine the market as a long road stretching in a dark horizon. Along this road, there are storms, crashes, dips, panics, corrections. But the road doesn't end. Only the travelers who lose courage turn back. The ones who stay, who walk through the storm, they are the ones who one day look back and whisper, this struggle was my making. Stocks may have already felt their shock. Bitcoin may be preparing for its next decisive move, up or down, like a warrior tightening his stance before a new battle. But wealth is built in these moments, the quiet times, the confusing times, the times when the weak run and the patient stand still. Let me share another small story. A shopkeeper I knew used to save a little every day, not much, sometimes just a few coins. People laughed at him. They said, what will you ever achieve with this? Years later, when his town faced an economic crash, he was the only one with enough saved to buy new supplies and expand his shop. And the same people who doubted him came to him for help. He told me something I never forgot. When the world panics, the one who has patience becomes king. This is the truth in finance. This is the truth in markets. This is the truth in Bitcoin. The crash already happened. Quietly months before the world labeled it. What comes next will depend on your mindset more than your money. So ask yourself, are you preparing or are you reacting? Because in this journey, destiny favors those who prepare. You see, when a trader says, the market crash already happened, they're not only talking about numbers, they're talking about the invisible transition from chaos to opportunity. This is the stage where the impatient exit and the wise begin to observe. Not rush, not react, just observe. There's a sacred calm that arrives after rapid decline, a moment when the chart stops screaming, when volatility loosens its grip, when the noise fades. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. The truth reveals itself. It whispers, not shouts, because real wealth is always quiet before it becomes loud. Right now, Bitcoin stands in that quiet space. It's not collapsing. It's not exploding. It's waiting, coiling, preparing for its next decisive move. And this is where most people fail, not financially, but emotionally. They get trapped in the space between fear and opportunity. They freeze, they overthink, they doubt themselves. And doubt is a thief far more dangerous than any market crash. Think back to a time in your life when you hesitated, when you knew the right step, but fear whispered you were not ready. Maybe it was a business idea. Maybe it was an investment. Maybe it was saving a little each month. Maybe it was taking a risk when your heart said, go, but your mind said, don't. We all have that moment, and for many, that hesitation costs more than any failed investment ever could. This is the same crossroads Bitcoin is offering right now. Not a guarantee, not a promise, but a crossroad. The next move could be a deep retest, the kind that shakes out weak hands, cleans the market, and resets the stage for a future rally. Or it could be a breakout, a surge that rewards those who held through uncertainty. Either way, the untrained mind sees danger. The prepared soul sees possibility. Let me tell you a story about a man who lost nearly everything during a previous crypto downturn. He panicked, sold the bottom, and swore never to return. But years later, when the market rose again, he looked back at his decisions with tears in his eyes, not because he lost money, but because he lost belief in himself. He once told me, "My loss wasn't financial, it was my patience that died first." And that, my friends, is the real tragedy in every market crash. When the crash happens inside you before it happens outside, when fear builds faster than your vision, when you stop trusting your own journey, that's when you truly lose. But if you can overcome that, if you can withstand emotional turbulence longer than others, if you can stay disciplined when the world is trembling, then you unlock a truth very few ever realize. Wealth is not earned in the bull market. Wealth is earned in the moments before the bull market. Right now, Bitcoin is teaching us a lesson in patience. It's telling you that wealth does not come instantly. It comes through cycles, through storms, silence, through belief. This very moment, this calm after the supposed crash, is where the wise position themselves, not blindly, not recklessly, but with intention. Because every great investor has shared one secret. You don't need to predict the next move. You only need to survive long enough to benefit from it. Let that sink in. Now, take a breath with me. Feel the uncertainty around you and recognize that it's not your enemy. It's the doorway to your next level. This part of your journey is not about strategy alone. It's about emotional strength, your mindset, your patience, your long-term vision. Because if you can control yourself, you can control your wealth. Bitcoin's next move will test millions of people. Some will break, some will panic, some will give up. But the wise, they will use this phase to sharpen themselves mentally, strategically, and emotionally. And that is how generational wealth is built. Now, my beloved listeners, before we enter the final part, take this moment to remind yourself you were not born to simply react to markets. You were born to rise above them. There is a moment in every financial journey when you realize the charts are not the real battlefield you are. Your fears, your impulses, your impatience, those are the true price you must pay before wealth can trust you. Right now, as traders whisper that stocks have already felt their silent crash, and as Bitcoin stands on the edge of its next major move, you must ask yourself a deeper question. Am I preparing for the future, or am I clinging to the past? Because the past is full of emotional mistakes, chasing pumps, selling bottoms, trusting hype, fearing dips, doubting your own strategy. But the future belongs to those who learn, adapt, and evolve. Let me share a moment I once witnessed, a small, simple moment, yet it changed the way I see destiny. A middle-aged man sitting alone in a cafe reviewing his old investment notes, pages filled with red marks, losses, missed chances, regrets. But on the last page, he had written a sentence barely visible, almost as if he wrote it in a whisper. "I'm not failing, I'm becoming." And I realized that is exactly what every investor must understand. Your early losses were not punishment, they were preparation. Your past mistakes were not the end, they were the shaping of a wiser version of you. This is the same transition Bitcoin is moving through right now. Cycles are not random, cycles are teachers. Every dip has shaped Bitcoin holders into stronger, sharper, more patient individuals. Every crash has separated the hopeful from the committed. And every recovery has rewarded the ones who stayed true to their vision even when the world mocked them. Some of you listening right now, you're tired. You're tired of waiting, tired of uncertainty, tired of believing without seeing the reward. But hear me. Every great story of wealth has a chapter like this, the chapter where everything is still unclear, uncomfortable. But this is not the chapter where you quit. This is the chapter where you transform. The current market cycle, both in stocks and in Bitcoin, is not designed to defeat you. It's designed to test you, to strengthen you, to prepare you for what's coming next. We are standing at a turning point. Stocks have quietly reset. Bitcoin is preparing for its next direction, and you are standing between you were and who you are becoming. Ask yourself, are you building habits that your future self will thank you for? Are you investing with intention, not emotion? Are you thinking in years, not days? Are you building the discipline to accumulate quietly while the world sleeps? Because wealth is not loud, not flashy, not instant. Wealth grows the way seeds grow, underground first, in silence, in darkness long before the world sees the tree. This moment, this chapter, this phase of Bitcoin and the entire market, it's your underground growth phase, your preparation era, your quiet rise. And one day, when the next major Bitcoin move comes, whether it dips deeper to test your patience or rises sharply to reward it, you will look back at this moment and whisper to yourself, I stayed strong, I stayed prepared, I stayed awake. And that inner victory is worth more than any number in your portfolio. Because here's the truth few people ever understand. When the market enters uncertainty, it's not pausing, it's revealing who is disciplined, who is impulsive, who is visionary, who is lost, who is ready, and who is pretending. Right now, Bitcoin is standing at a crossroads that millions are watching, but only a few truly understand. The average mind is asking, what will happen next? But the wise mind asks, what am I supposed to learn right now? And this is where your journey transforms. Let me take you deeper. Imagine you're standing at the shore during low tide. The water has pulled back, the beach looks empty, people walk away thinking the ocean has weakened. But those who understand nature, those who understand timing, know that after low tide comes the rise. That's exactly how the Bitcoin market works. Cycles are just tides, crashes are just low waters, and patience is the boat that takes you safely through every season. But still, so many lose themselves during these quiet phases, not because the market betrayed them, but because their emotions did. Think of a trader who watches Bitcoin drop 20%. First comes fear, then doubt, then anger, then regret, and finally decisions made emotional darkness. I've seen people sell their dreams because of one impulsive moment, not because the market was wrong, but because they didn't believe they could survive the storm. Dear listeners, you can survive it. You have survived storms far worse than financial volatility. You've survived heartbreaks, disappointments, losses, betrayal, loneliness, failure. And yet here you are, still standing, still learning, still fighting for a better future. So why fear a market cycle when you've already survived life cycles much harder? Bitcoin's next move, whether it's a correction or an explosion upward, will shape millions of destinies. And that is why you must strengthen yourself now in the quiet moments, so when the market gets loud again, you don't break. Let me share another small but powerful story. A young investor once told me, I don't invest because I'm afraid of losing. I looked at him and asked, are you afraid of losing money or afraid of losing control? He paused and tears filled his eyes because the real fear was not financial, it was personal. The fear of not being ready, the fear of failing again, the fear of repeating past mistakes, the fear of being wrong. But life doesn't reward the fearless, life rewards the ones who act despite fear. And that's the essence of long-term investing, acting not from emotion, but from conviction. Not because you want fast money, but because you want a strong future. Right now, as the world wonders if Bitcoin will drop further or prepare for a massive breakout, you have a choice. Not a choice of prediction, but a choice of identity. Who are you becoming in this market? Someone controlled by candles and headlines, or someone who uses data, discipline, and deep understanding? Because Bitcoin is not just an investment, it's a test of character. It rewards emotional growth as much as financial strategy. And remember this, every time Bitcoin fell in the past, people panic it. Every time it rose afterward, those same people regretted. The difference wasn't the market. The difference was mindset. So let part 4 remind you of this eternal truth. Success is not born when you win. Success is born when you refuse to lose yourself during the struggle. Stocks have already absorbed their silent crash. Bitcoin is preparing for its next defining move. And you are shaping the version of yourself who will walk into the next bull cycle with strength, clarity, and purpose. The market will rise again. Bitcoin will awaken again. Opportunities will return again. But the question is, will you be ready this time? Because wealth does not just require money, it requires maturity, patience, self-control, and the courage to believe in the long game when others quit at the short one. And now, dear listeners, as we reach the end of this journey together, take one slow breath. Let everything settle, the stories, the lessons, the warnings, the hope, because this moment right here is not the end of a script. It is the beginning of a new version of you. You've walked with me through the silent crash of the markets, through the uncertainty surrounding Bitcoin's next move, through the emotional storms investors fight inside themselves, through the patience, discipline, and inner strength that wealth demands. And now you understand something most people never will. The market is not your enemy. Your emotions are not your weakness. The volatility is not your punishment. Everything you faced, every dip, every crash, every doubt was shaping your financial soul. You've learned that true wealth isn't built during the hype. It's built during the silence. It's born not from lucky trades, but from unshakable conviction, not from timing the market perfectly, but from refusing to abandon your long-term vision. You've seen how stocks quietly reset beneath the surface. You've felt how Bitcoin holds its breath before its next awakening. And you've realized that your destiny doesn't depend on predicting the move. It depends on preparing yourself for it. Because, my dear listener, the real investment isn't in the charts. The real investment is in you. Who you become while waiting, who you become while surviving losses, who you become while holding through fear, who you become when you choose vision over panic. That is the person who builds generational wealth. So as you move forward, let the noise of the world fade, let the panic of the market fade, let the impatience fade. Stand in that calm, quiet space within yourself. And remember, you are not here by accident. You are not listening by chance. You are not on this financial path because of luck. You are here because something inside you refuses to settle. Something inside you knows you are meant for more. Something inside you is rising. The next Bitcoin cycle, the next stock market wave, the next opportunity, they will come. They always do. But this time you won't face them with fear. You won't rush. You won't break. You won't doubt your worth. You'll stand with clarity, patience, maturity, and purpose because you've grown, because you've learned, because you've awakened. And when the next blessing arrives, and it will, you'll be ready to receive it with steady hands and a peaceful heart. So let this be your final reminder tonight. Wealth is not just about money. Wealth is a mindset, a discipline, a spiritual journey, a quiet confidence that says, I am becoming the person my future needs. Walk forward, dear listener, not with fear, but with faith, not with haste, but with intention, not with confusion, but with purpose. Your time is coming. Your season is approaching. Your rise is already unfolding the unseen. And when the world finally sees the results, they will call you lucky. But you will know the truth. You were patient. You were disciplined. You were prepared. And above all, you never gave up on your vision. May abundance follow your steps. May clarity guide your decisions. And may peace fill your heart on this journey toward financial freedom. Your destiny is waiting. Walk toward it calmly, confidently, courageously.